In the last class, we discussed logic operators and mathematical operators. Very briefly, we discussed structured English, pseudocode, and flowcharts. Flowcharts, तो हमने बिल्कुल भी discuss नहीं किए थे. And then at the end, very briefly, we discussed the data types. What are data types and what are variables? We very briefly discussed this. Whenever in a program we want to handle in a program, when we are required to handle data, there are two ways for us. Either we use the data for temporary purpose, or we use for later on use. In the case of later on use of the data, we need to store it permanently, and we use some kind of files. In the case of temporary, the data along with its program instructions goes into memory. So memory, each memory cell has its own memory address, and there are so many memory addresses which are very difficult for us. So what we do in the area of the program, let's suppose if an operating system gives this area for the program, let's assume a page in a computer memory. So some instructions are coming over here, and the data is going to be stored in this area. So in this area, there are so many cells. What we have to do, we have to label these cells. We have to label these cells so that we could easily manipulate those memory locations, and we could store data and retrieve out of it, and we could use those in our calculations. So in other words, we say we create identifiers. We also name it as variables. In programming language, whenever we create variables, many programming languages also require us, the programmers, to give what type of data will come into these variables. So we also have to explain to the programming language that these variables, identifiers, will store what type of data. This also helps us in validation that only correct type of data would go into those variables. Now, when we create identifiers, these identifiers should be meaningful. These identifiers should not have space in between, no space in between words. If our programming identifier has more than one word, variable should not start with a digit. So these are some of the very common programming language requirements for variables, labels, identifiers, names. And in a simple word, a variable is a memory box where our data will go. For example, a name of a student. It is temporarily stored in this area, so we have to label this memory for our ease. So let's suppose I name it as first name. The name of the box is first name. We call it identifier. And in your exams, this is one of the very common question that comes of 4 or 5 marks, that you have to create variables for the data that is to be collected in the problem. And this is also my request, that in exams, please keep in mind that you must follow the naming convention. Sometimes it is a camel case being followed. Like if a variable's name is first name, so we can write it like this: first, without space, we'll say name. So this is known as the camel case because the first word of the letter, first letter of the word is capital. So in the last class, we also discussed the data types that we normally use theoretically. there are numbers जिन्हें हम integers कह सकते हैं. Decimal numbers के लिए we use the word real or floating point. And what else? Date. What else? कोई आप बोलेंगी?
String.
Very good.
String.
String.
Character.
Yes, we missed this one
Boolean.
last time in the last class. Character and Boolean could also be said as yes, no. So Boolean is okay. Very rarely you will see this as in paper. So if like data is to be collected and the data is name that you are naming for the variable is price, so you can set it as currency. Even if you say it as a number or floating point, if the price is like 12.24, you can say it floating point also. But if you say it, this exam is saying that price is going to be something like decimal number and you are saying it is a number data type, so it is incorrect because it has a decimal over here. So the data type of this variable should be a decimal. Programming language के अंदर आम लाइफ में यानी कि हम जब सूडो कोड वगैरह में या आइडेंटिफाइड टेबल जब बना रहे होंगे तो वहां पर हम रियल फ्लोटिंग पॉइंट उसको मेंशन करेंगे प्राइस वेरिएबल की डेटा टाइप. सो ये तो हो गए सम ऑफ द वेरी कॉमन डेटा टाइप्स जो हमें चाहिए होती हैं. तो तीन चीजें हमने अब तक डिस्कस कर ली हैं. नंबर 1 मैथमेटिकल ऑपरेटर्स, नंबर 2 लॉजिकल ऑपरेटर्स एंड नंबर 3 डेटा टाइप्स और वेरिएबल्स. ज़ाहिर है वेरिएबल्स डिस्कस किए तो उनकी डेटा टाइप्स भी डिस्कस किए. इन एवरी प्रोग्राम द मोस्ट कॉमन flow you will see is like this: input, process, and output. So if I just give you an example as I gave in the last class, a user wants to write a program to take two inputs from user and add those two inputs and then output. So a simple structured English code, in the last class we did it. I could write it like this: input to numbers, I'm shortening it, add to numbers and assign result to or just leave it like this: add two numbers and then output result. So you see that this is our input, this is our output, and these are this is a calculation part, means a process. So the first thing that we should learn as a programmer to how to take inputs and how to take outputs in a programming language. आज हमारे पास अभी vb.net नहीं है, it is under installation process चल रहा है. तो मैं यहाँ पर एक प्रोग्राम, यही प्रोग्राम जो हमने किया है इसको मैं यहाँ पर डिस्कस करने लगा हूँ किस तरह से हम कर सकते हैं. लेकिन सबसे पहले हम जो चीज़ देखने लगे हैं वीवी के अंदर वो है how to take inputs and how to give some output and how we are going to create variables. ये तीन चीजें हम आज रिवाइज करेंगे. So let me open a browser. There I could use this online compiler को देख लेते हैं. Okay, in the meanwhile, ये अभी साइट खुल रही है, तो हम ऐसा करते हैं, जो मैं पहले काम कर रहा था वो कर लेता हूँ. Okay. As you understand, these three instructions I've written as structured English code. So if I convert this into a pseudocode, how it would be. If you remember my last class, I said whenever we start programming, the first thing we do is we identify in our program what data handling is required. If there is some constant data that is to be used in program, are there some inputs and some calculations which need to be stored. तो वहाँ से हमें पता चल जाता है कि there are some variables are required. As you can see here, we see that two inputs are going to be made. So for the two inputs, we need two variables. So if I write the pseudocode for this, I'll write it like this for this program, addition program. Declare, use the word declare a meaningful variable name like number 1. We can also use comma to separate two numbers, variables, number 2, and the result. And I also mentioned here, like with colon, the data type as integer. I'm assuming that the user is going to enter whole numbers. So these are three variables that are declared, which are going to take some inputs from the user, and then the calculation will be done, and the result will be calculated in the result variable. The next, what I do is I give a meaningful prompt to the user with the word output as a command. It's just a set of instruction for the programmer to code it in a VB, in a programming language, whichever suitable. So I say output, please enter two numbers. Remember that in an exam, when there are some inputs are being asked by the examiner to be taken in the program, a prompt must be given. And what is a prompt? Prompt means an instruction. Prompt means an output, an alarm, a hint to the user on a screen, which is very clear to the user what is to do next. So here, when this program will run on the screen, this message will be displayed. So this is prompt here. Output, please enter two numbers. So the user is going to enter two numbers, and those numbers will be taken like this: input, input number 1, and then input number 2, and then we'll do the addition. Don't worry about that. मैंने इसको इंडेंट कर दिया, तो आप भी इसको इंडेंट करेंगे. इसको इंडेंट नहीं होना चाहिए. ये सारा इकट्ठा ही आएगा यहाँ पर एक in the line. So then let's say add. I could do, instead of saying add, I should say result is equals to arrow symbol use किया है, which is an assignment symbol pseudocode में. If you remember from your previous whole year programming lessons, result is equals to number 1 plus number 2, and then simple output. Output will give a meaningful prompt and a message, as I mentioned earlier. The addition of two numbers is space के साथ double quotes plus sign pseudocode में I'll use and then I can also use this sign and sign, and the moment मैं इसको हटा देता हूँ यहाँ से, and the variable result. This is it. ये हमारा sudo code हो गया हमारे addition program का. Now if we write this code in a programming language, तो मैं आपके साथ ये share करता हूँ browser. इसमें मैंने ये VB खोली हुई है tutorialspoint.com के ऊपर. यहाँ पर जाकर मैं अपना प्रोग्राम लिखूंगा. So the first by default you get a sub main. In every programming language you get some kind of program that is to be executed first of all. In VB this is the word main. That means this the program that is going to be written in this area will be the main program. It will get executed first of all, and then the rest of the code will get executed. So in VB I write word dem number 1 comma number 2 comma result. As I mentioned earlier, if the variables are of same data type, we can create all threes in one line, in one instruction. Although अगर हमारे पास अलग-अलग instructions भी हम dim की दे देते तो वो भी ठीक था, कोई problem नहीं थी. And as word is important in VB, so syntax अगर आपको याद हो तो, and we'll use the word integer here. And the next thing is I'm going to give the prompt to the user. For that we use console.writeLine. In the brackets I'll write in double quotes, please enter two numbers, and then I'll say number 1 is equals to console.readLine. So the console.writeLine is the output command in VB. As अभी मैंने वहाँ पर बोर्ड के ऊपर word output लिखा था, और input के लिए मैंने input number 1 लिखा था, और input के लिए हम command line console.readLine use करते हैं. In last class में किसी ने मुझे correction भी कराई थी, मैं incorrectly वो वहाँ बोला था. कोई और आया अभी तक तो कोई नहीं आया. Okay, and then result is equals to number 1 plus number 2, and then console.writeLine. Here I'll say the addition of two numbers is, and here I'll use the sign ampersand, and I'll say result, and this will give us the output. So if I just run this command, let's see कि हमें क्या output मिलती है. There is an error. कौन सी line में error? There were one error and one warning.
सर आपने नंबर लिखा हुआ है, रिजल्ट इक्वल्स टू नंबर 1 प्लस
नंबर 2 लिखना था. ठीक, thank you. So let's execute this again. So here it says please enter two numbers. On the right side of the screen we can see it says please enter two numbers. The addition of two numbers is 0. So क्योंकि ये कंसोल है, यहाँ पर हम ऑनलाइन डेटा एंट्री नहीं करवा सकते, अगर हमारे पास प्रोग्राम होता तो हम यहाँ देखते हैं कि वो हमारा ऑनलाइन डेटा एंट्री हो जाती। अच्छा, इसमें हमने एक और भी थोड़ी सी मिस कर गए। यहाँ पर हम नंबर 2 नहीं लिया। नंबर 2 इज इक्वल टू कंसोल डॉट रीलाइन। तो अगर आपके पास घर में VB इंस्टॉल्ड है, so you can write this program. So what will happen? You are going to enter two numbers, number 1 and number 2, and the result will be calculated and then output. At the moment, I'm not concentrating on these instructions. What I'm concentrating on is console or write line, console or read line, and console or write line. What I'm trying to discuss is that how we are going to input and how we are going to output. So this was purpose. So whenever we want to take input from the user, we use the word console.readline, and whenever we want to output, we say console.writeline. Let's get back to the board again. Okay. Now the most important part that we have to start today is constructs. What are different techniques that we can use in the flow of our program? As you can see here, first of all, this instruction will get executed, then this, and this. So program is done. So the execution flow is sometimes like this, that each and every instruction is executing one after the, but in many times there will be a scenario that you have to execute some kind of instruction again and again. So how to do that? And if a situation occurs where you want to execute some part and you do not want to execute some part, so how you are going to do that? तो इसलिए हमारे पास ये सिचुएशन आ जाती है प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज में। तो हमारे पास जो कॉन्स्ट्रक्ट्स हैं, सबसे पहले है हमारे पास असाइनमेंट। Assignment means what? Whenever you want to store a value into a variable, whenever you want to assign a value to a variable, this is known as assignment. और इसके लिए हम equals to sign यूज करते हैं VB के अंदर, और सूडो कोड के अंदर हम एरो साइन यूज करते हैं। जैसे कि अगर ऊपर आप देखें तो यहाँ पर ये देखें, इसमें आप देखें यहाँ पर मैंने असाइनमेंट की स्टेटमेंट, ये स्टेटमेंट पूरी जो है असाइनमेंट स्टेटमेंट कहलाती है। Why it is assignment? Because the calculated result over here is assigned to this variable. Memory में इस बॉक्स के अंदर वो स्टोर होगा। So this is first construct, यानी कि technique, programming technique. Then we have selection. Selection means that there are some instructions. Out of those instructions, some might execute, some might not execute, depending on the condition. If you remember in the last class, I used the word if. If x mod 2 equals to 0, then output even, else output odd. So here you see that this, either this will get executed or this will execute. If I insert a value, even value into this variable x, like 16, so the remainder will be 0. X 16 mod 2, 2 goes 8 times and 16, so there is no remainder. So 0 equals to 0. So this expression is returning me true, because the conditional statement's result is true, so only this line will execute. This will not get executed, and the program will, after coming to this part, will jump outside and the program is done. But if I've given here, like for example 161, so it's an odd number. So because some remainder will be produced and that will produce a false condition over here result, so this line will not get executed, instead this part will execute. So conditional execution of a statement is occurring over here. This is done because of the selection, because of the condition. So we can use an if condition, we can use if else statements for the conditions. We can use also select case 1, case 2, and case 3. Like for example, if I have a menu, इसकी कल की क्लास में हम ये if conditions के ऊपर और केस की थोड़ी सी एग्जांपल्स को डिस्कस करेंगे और कोड भी करेंगे, फिर हमारे पास थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा काम होगा कोडिंग करने के लिए. So for example, if I have a menu over here on the screen, I hope कोई आया है, कोई नहीं आया. Okay. आपको स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है बच्चा लोग?
जी सर.
Okay. If I have a menu, that 1 is to add, 2 is to subtract, and 3 is to exit, for example. And then I give a message on the screen that please choose an option. So when the user prompts uses an option 1, 2, and 3, depending on that, either addition process will execute or subtraction process will get executed, or 3, the program will be terminated. So behind the scene, I could have coded like this. यानी कि इसमें मैं if भी use कर सकता हूँ और case भी use कर सकता हूँ. So अगर मैं case use कर रहा हूँ तो मेरा code कुछ इस तरह से लिखा होगा. Case 1, I would be calling add program. Case 2, I would be calling subtraction program. Case 3, I would be calling I will be just giving an instruction to end the program. So this is known as selection. And then we have loops. Sometimes we want to execute some part of the code again and again unless user gives the right choice to terminate the program. For example, I want if I run this code in the menu wale program ke andar, so when user chooses 1, the program executes the add program and then terminates. But I want to give user many chances, like the user doing the addition many times or subtraction many times, and whenever the user wants to end, then ends. It's not like that after execution of add program the program is terminated. So I could write it like this. For example, do while a choice not equals to for example 3. तो जब तक वो चॉइस 3 नहीं दे रहा तब तक प्रोग्राम चलता रहेगा. या फॉर एग्जांपल मैं ये भी नहीं लिखता, मैं इसकी जगह लिख देता हूँ do while simply true and end. So what is happening in this case, the inside code in this block do while code के अंदर it will keep on executing unless the user terminates the code. इसको थोड़ा सा मैं इंडेंट कर देता हूँ. एग्जाम में इंडेंशन भी बहुत जरूरी होती है, इसको जरा याद रखिएगा. अब हो नहीं रहा इंडेंट. हो गया. Okay, like this. Okay, now the block is this, and this will keep on executing. Why? Because the condition of the do while loop is true. ये हमेशा चलता रहेगा. कब एंड होगा? जब मैं 3 चॉइस करूंगा तो ये तब एंड होगा. और मैं यहाँ बीच में यूजर से कह रहा हूँ आउटपुट choose an item. कोडिंग करेंगे तो ज़्यादा अच्छा होगा. And for example, choice is equals to the code में लिख देता हूँ input choice like this. And then the last is structured modular programming. So instead of writing one whole program, we can divide our program into many smaller programs. हम उसमें उसको divide कर सकते हैं और उसकी तरफ भी इंशाल्लाह जाएंगे. तो this is what I wanted to discuss for today's class. अगर आप लोगों को कोई चीज़ इसमें प्रॉब्लम या कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना है तो आप पूछ सकते हैं दोबारा। कीपिंग इन माइंड मैं थोड़ा सा तेज चल रहा हूँ क्योंकि हम लोगों ने पूरा साल इसको किया हुआ है, इससे ज़्यादा थोड़ी रिवीजन हो रही है, हमारी बेसिक्स का पार्ट है। कोडिंग की तरफ आएंगे जब हम असाइनमेंट सिलेक्शन लूप वगैरह करेंगे तो फिर ज़्यादा वहाँ पर हमारी डिस्कशंस हो सकेंगी। मुझे पता है कि आप लोगों को ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम एरेज और फाइनलिंग और मॉड्यूलर प्रोग्रामिंग में है, तो इसीलिए मैं जल्दी जल्दी उस पार्ट पे जाना चाह रहा हूँ। हमारे पास ज़्यादा क्वेश्चंस भी होंगे सॉल्व करने के लिए। जी, एनी क्वेश्चन? किसी को नहीं है कोई क्वेश्चन?
नहीं सर।
ठीक है। अच्छा, आप लोगों ने कुछ कुछ पास पेपर्स भी अटेम्प्ट किए हुए कि नहीं किए हुए इन 4-5 दिनों में भी? आप छुट्टियों में 2 महीने तो हो गए
सर छुट्टियों में किए थे।
किए थे, ठीक है। अब आप लोगों को दोबारा पास पेपर्स करने की ज़रूरत होगी। ज़ाहिर है जब आप लोग वो करेंगे, अभी जैसे कि हमने जो बेसिक फर्स्ट 2-3 पेजेस होते हैं हमारे P2 के अंदर, वो वाले क्वेश्चन अब आप अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हैं। आप इफ देन एल्स और केस वाले क्वेश्चंस भी अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हैं, फ्लो के क्वेश्चंस भी अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हैं। अगर आपको अरेज में और मॉड्यूलर प्रोग्रामिंग में फंक्शंस में बिल्ट इन फंक्शंस में कहीं प्रॉब्लम आ रही होगी तो आप उनको अभी छोड़ सकते हैं अगर आप नहीं अटेम्प्ट करना चाहते, लेकिन बाकी क्वेश्चंस आप अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, तो इंशाल्लाह कल वाली क्लास में हम लूप्स को और मॉड्यूलर प्रोग्रामिंग को टच करने की कोशिश करेंगे और फिर उसके बाद हम बिल्ट इन फंक्शंस पर आ जाएंगे। ठीक है जी, ओके, अल्लाह हाफिज़।
अल्लाह हाफिज सर।
अल्लाह हाफिज़ सर।
अल्लाह हाफिज़।